So, welcome to Tama's podcast. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hello, my name's Lionne Whitfield, and I'm the founder of the Luxury Couture Wardrobe and Ace to Employment.
Lovely. We know each other since 2017 or 2018. I cannot remember, but
Hmm.
I would say 6, 7 years.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
that's
I
right.
remember that's a long time. I remember you were like an advisor. So, can you tell
Mhm.
me a bit about that journey? How did you started your work as advising people? And is it coaching that you call it, or was it advisor? Which one do you
Yeah,
prefer?
so I do coaching, advising, mentoring, and they all kind of intertwine.
Okay.
Um, so I'll give you a little bit about my background, which will then lead us into the answer to your question. So when I left school at 16, I knew that I didn't want to do A levels. I loved school, but when it came to exams, I was really poor. I'd get really nervous. So I knew A levels weren't for me. So I went to the London College of Fashion and did a BTEC in Fashion and Beauty Communications. And that kind of gave me an insight of the fashion industry. So I learned about modeling, hair and makeup, hairdressing, marketing, so all the different roles within the fashion industry. And then when I completed my BTEC course, I knew that I wanted to work in fashion PR. And so from the age of 17 to about 22, 21, 22, I worked in fashion PR. And then after about 5 years, I decided that I would go to uni and do a degree in fashion management. And that covered economics, Italian, quantitative methods, HR. And I really enjoyed the HR element and decided that fashion really wasn't for me. And so when with my HR interest, I joined recruitment agencies and was looking for opportunities. And quite a few recruitment agencies said I should get into like learning and development or careers advice. And I landed my first role with Connections, who worked with young people to get them into employment. So
Nice.
that's how I got into advising. Um,
Mm.
so from working with Connections, I've worked for various other kind of employment services and careers services. And then after probably 15 years, I got a role with Hexagon Housing, and that's where I met you. And I managed an employment program there, supporting people into employment and training.
Yeah,
So
that's fantastic.
that's the long and short answer to
No,
your
that's fantastic. Because I remember first time I met you, I was really down. Like I did. I mean, when you try so much by yourself to look for work and it's not working, and I
question.
have to say I never really had a good relationship with the job center. The advisors that I have, they were not very good. And then the one I had, Rosemary,
Mhm.
she basically was saying, "Look, Thelma, we need to do something." And I said to
Mhm.
her, I said, "Listen, right? Every time I see you, you don't have the time to help me do my CV and all of this." I say, all you do is telling me to find a job, but you're not helping me to find a job. And then she's
Mhm.
like, "Oh, don't worry, I know someone." And I thought she was kidding. And I remember first time I met you, I was like, "Oh, she's so friendly, so positive." And I was like, "This is amazing." This is the first time I had like, I was like, "Oh, finally, I'm going to find myself a job." Because
Mhm.
I didn't want Rosemary to feel like I didn't want to work. I was like, I want to work, but I need
Yes.
somebody to help me find a job, with my
Mhm.
CV, I like everything, even presentation, everything. And I was so glad I met you. It was such an important connection, personal goals and professional goals. That was so amazing. But the one thing I realized about you when I met you, I was like, you look so fashionable. So explain your
Yeah.
journey into create
Mhm.
your own. Is it personal shopping that you do?
Personal shopping and styling. So I've always had a love for fashion from an early age, always playing dress up. As a child, I would, read or flick through my mum's or my aunt's fashion magazines, Vogue, Marie Claire. I would watch a show. You may not know it. I'm not sure if you were in London at the time. It used to be called Clothes Show Live. Um,
No.
a fashion show that would come on during the 80s on BBC One. And I would love watching all of the catwalk shows and them kind of spotlighting designers and models. Growing up, I didn't have a lot of resources, so I'd always have to learn to be creative with the clothes that I had and try not to show that I was repeating outfits over and over again.
Yeah.
So I would, try and jazz them up by maybe wearing tops back to front so they look slightly different, wearing different accessories, different coloured tights or socks, just to give the outfits that kind of, fresh look. So as I mentioned, I went to the London College of Fashion, studied fashion. I loved fashion. I've worked in retail. But even though I left the London College of Fashion and pursued a career as a careers advisor, I've always loved fashion. And I had a hobby selling clothes on eBay. And then during the pandemic, I was super busy. As you know, people were constantly shopping during that period.
Yeah.
And so I was inundated with orders. And I was a bit like, this is a business, rather than giving eBay all of my commission or sharing my commission with eBay, I decided to set up an online boutique called the Luxury Couture Wardrobe, selling designer items up to 60% off the recommended retail price. So Jimmy Choo, Manolo Blahnik, Alexa Chung, and which was really good. And then after about 3 or 4 months, I would get people from the Middle East and America and the UK contacting me to say, we like your vibe, but we want full price items. There's like a Chanel bag that I've seen, but it's sold out in my country. Can you source it for me? So subsequently, the business turned into personal shopping, product sourcing, and most recently, styling.
Oh, nice. Do you have any high-profile people that have approached you to say, look, can you design this look for me, or can you find this outfit for me? Have you had anyone approach you? Or
so I work with influencers, high net worth individuals in the UK and in the Middle East.
Fantastic. Any brands that influence you in what you do, like any brand that you really like that you would like to work with that brand one day? I don't know, like Louis Vuitton.
So I love Saint Laurent. I love what the brand stands for. It's classic, it's chic, it's timeless. What I love is that you can, when I say timeless, you can wear them anytime. It never dates. So that's one of my favorite brands.
That's fantastic. I mean, have you ever thought of becoming a designer one day?
So when I was at the London College of Fashion, it was the initial course I did when I left school. I did learn design as well, but I like the business side, so being behind the scenes.
Oh, lovely. Honestly, I have to say, I like that you still help people, because you still manage to help people advising for careers. So, I work with teenagers. What is the main advice when they leave school? What would be the main advice for them to, to transition from school to real world? What would be your main advice?
Absolutely. So although I have my business, the Luxury Couture Wardrobe, I left my 9-to-5 job with a local authority last year, July, to set up my own careers service, which is called Ace to Employment. And so I actually go into schools, working with young people, giving them careers advice. So at the moment, I'm working with year 11s. So they're age 15, 16, and we're going through the next stage. So looking at colleges, apprenticeships, or going into employment. And so the advice I would give, with so many of them, they're so anxious that they need to know what they have to know what to do when they leave school. They need to know which job. And I think you don't need to have it all figured out at 15 or 16. There's so many adults who are still navigating through life, not knowing what career to choose. And sometimes, due to life circumstances, people have to just take a job because they need to look after their family and pay their bills. And so you don't need to have it all figured out at
Yeah.
15 and 16. But what I would say is just embrace new opportunities, try and get work experience, and just see, what you can try and do. And there's so many young people who want to do apprenticeships, but maybe their parents don't necessarily know what the benefits of apprenticeships are. So there's that stigma. And so a lot of young people are going to uni, not necessarily wanting to go, but they're going because their family have advised them to. So I would say if you can do an apprenticeship, do an apprenticeship. You can save so
Mhm.
much money, don't have to take out a student loan, you get hands-on experience, and it's a guaranteed job, you know.
Mm. That's fantastic. So I want to say a big thank you for your time because you're always busy, always on the move somewhere. But to advise, so what would you advise young people to do to set up their own companies? What would be your main advice for people to set if they want to set up their own company? What is the main key advice you can give?
Well, having your own business is not easy. It's quite stressful. um, Not guaranteed an income. And so I would say before one sets up a business, make sure they put a business plan together, get a business mentor, get guidance, test trade before registering the business just to make sure it is viable, and that also be flexible. Because as I said to you, when I set up my business, it was an online boutique selling designer items up to 60% off the retail price, which is still going, by the way. So people can go onto my website and buy. But when I say be flexible, in the sense that people wanted me to do personal shopping, product sourcing, and styling. And so you have to go where the demand is and don't
Mhm,
be fixated on what you had originally set out to do. But I would always
mhm,
say get a business mentor, get guidance, and don't be afraid to ask for help. And join community groups. There's so many groups out there to help business owners to get support. It can be quite lonely, so try and join groups and
mhm.
network with other individuals.
Yeah, lovely. And as a personal shopper, what would be your main advice? Because there's a lot of girls that see
Mm-hmm.
they really take care so much of the looks. And sometimes I hear some teachers saying, "Oh, you put too much into your looks. It's about learning, learning, learning." But then I realize, how about you trying to find ways to tell them, "Look, this is what you like." But that's the thing. I don't know what to say to them. That's why I'm asking you. What would be your advice for those girls, those people that really want to one day be, a personal shopper, somebody into fashion? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say, you know, if that's what they want to do, set up an Instagram account. What I did, and not everybody would recommend this, but there were people who I really wanted to work with. So I would send them DMs to tell them what I do and to say that I'd like to work with them, whether it be their stylist or personal shopper. It's a very competitive role,
Yeah.
personal shopping, styling. But I would say if it's something that you really want to do, just persevere and keep going.
Yeah,
Mhm.
fantastic. I love it because I love that you've been into this. I don't know. I don't know how to explain this, but profession so well, like how to get into it, and not only how to get into it, but how to stay in profession. So I
Yes.
really like what you do. Are you consider, I don't know, writing a book one day about all of these things? Because I feel like you should definitely have your book out there about all the things that you did and how, like, a success story for others to have the same success as you. I
Oh,
mean, hopefully that's something to think about.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's something that I would consider. Not right now, but I think, I love constantly learning. So every
Mhm.
day I set time aside to learn, to try and perfect my crafts. So just because somebody's doing a particular role, it doesn't mean that they just stop there. They have to keep learning.
That's
alone.
amazing. Fantastic. Anyway, I wish you all the best. We're gonna keep in touch anyway, as we always do. And I can't wait to see you one more time. I mean,
Yeah,
anytime, I don't mind. I really want to see you again. And I like that we kept in touch after all these years.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
thank you so much for everything. Everything. Have a
No,
lovely
it's been a
evening.
pleasure. All right then. Thank you. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.